It got to be around like pick 12, I think, when I was like, wait a second, what the heck's going on here? This is all offense.
Yeah, and I think it was about pick 16. I walked over, and we sit kind of across from each other in the media house, and I said, they might get one of the corners, one of the top two corners, without trading up. You're like, yeah. And that's how it played out. I did not – I don't know if any mock draft in the world had this kid going this late. Maybe somewhere somebody did, but the way it played out, first there was a run on quarterbacks, and there was a run on O linemen, then there was a run on D linemen, and the Eagles started the run on corners.
They did. They get Quinyon Mitchell at 22 overall. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. First round of the 2024 draft is over.
It's in the books.
In the books, we have 6 rounds to go. The Eagles have plenty more picks coming over the next couple of days, but this was a big one. And it's funny because I kind of hitched my wagon to Quinyon Mitchell pretty early in this draft process. And I did that thinking there's no way he's really ever going to be within the range. They don't have to trade up to get him. It's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, I thought if they were going to get him, I thought they'd probably have to move up into the 15-16 range. You call it the strike zone. It's a good phrase for it. Did you make that up? Is that original?
Nothing's original.
I like it. That's good. Strike zone. Where saying how look, there's a certain point where it doesn't become realistic, where it's not realistic to go from 22 to 6 or 8. You're not going to do that. You just have to give up too much. But right around that 14, 15, 16, 17 range, I thought they would have to do that to get this kid. Best corner in the draft. But he just kept dropping, and it happens. And that's really my favorite thing about the draft. We break it down, and we predict it, we project it, and we have experts, and they say what's going to happen. And I talk to this guy, and it never goes the way you think. Sometimes it's close, especially with the first few picks. But I think there's so many smoke screens out there. Teams telling one thing and actually thinking another thing. And we saw that tonight, and that makes it fun, that unexpected. And we talked to Howie, and, he's like, there was a point where we just thought, like, whatever happens, we're going to get a player at 22 we really like. And that's why he didn't trade up. And I know it's hard for him. It's hard for him to sit there. Mm-hmm. And he was asked, it was a good question, like, at what point, were you thinking I got to trade up because I'm going to lose the kid? And he's like, well, the way we're looking at it, there was at numbers 15, there's, you have 7 more players to go, and then you pick. What are the odds? We have 7 players we would take at 22, so we don't need to trade up. But that's
what's amazing to me? Every time the Eagles make a pick, they always get the top guy they wanted.
Yeah, well, yeah, every team does. You'll hear that tomorrow. Like, we like this guy in the first round.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, a lot of people, probably 75% of the people who write about these things and analyze these things say Quinyon Mitchell was a top corner. And there's people that believe it's Terry and Arnold, and they could certainly be right. It could be Nate Wiggins for all I know, but I think the consensus is that they got the best corner in the draft.
Yeah, it was really fun the way it played out, because it kind of plays out for the team the way it does for the rest of us. When it gets to 16, 17, you're counting the spaces, and you're counting the players that you think are first round caliber players that you'd really be happy with getting. And now we don't know which players they're counting on, but if it's similar, then they're doing the same thing, and they're going, the math tells us we're going to get a player we really like, and that's enough to not trade up. Now, if one of those players is like a tier above, then I think you do entertain the trade up. But if not, then I think they wisely sat there this year and waited it out.
Yeah. And, to get a player that you really coveted and still have 50 and 53 tomorrow, 2 second-round picks, is a luxury. I just, honestly, if you asked me what the chances were before the draft started, I would have said maybe 3% that it would play out this way. But it did. And I think, we give Howie a lot of credit for making the trades that he makes and I don't think anybody really has a better sense of value of picks and how to get the most value out of picks and trades. You got to give him credit for not trading. And he even said he was tempted. He said there were things we were talking about and things we considered, but
he had to steal his phone in the draft room.
I mean, you know how much he likes to make trades. I mean, his face lit up when he was asked about that the other day. So to not make a trade is, it goes against his nature, but it ended up being the right thing to do.
Yeah, and the way this went, we mentioned the offense. 16 of the first 21 picks were offense. The first 14 in a row were offense. 6 of the first 12 picks were quarterbacks, which that's even better for the Eagles. They weren't going to take a quarterback. So, and that's pretty obvious, but like the more quarterbacks to go, the more good players get pushed down. And Howie said they're pretty exhaustive when they go through the scenarios that could play out. And they did go through a 6 quarterback before them scenario.
Yeah. I thought all 6 would go. We talked about it
before the Eagles.
Yeah.
Oh,
I did. I said that on the show on our special tonight.
But you still thought they were going to trade up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think those 5 guys are going to go in the first half of the first round. I think that's exactly what I said. I think teams are just so desperate for quarterbacks and they overvalue guys. And, it's really different. We're a little off topic, but it does kind of play into why 6 quarterbacks are drafted in the first 10
12.
picks. 10 picks, right? 12 picks. Yeah, 12. Bo Nix was 12. Teams are eager, they're willing to give up on a first round quarterback after 2 years now. I mean, how many games did Kenny Pickett start for?
Apparently, you're willing to give up on a quarterback you just signed for a lot of money and are going to lose a draft pick because of too. Falcons.
Oh yeah, that's right. But the Cards. Where did they draft Josh? What's his name? Josh somebody. Who's the guy they drafted the year before Kyler?
Rosen.
Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
And then he drafted another one a year later. I mean, I looked this up earlier. It's 9 of 28 quarterbacks who are still in the league who were drafted in the first round in the last 10 years are with their original team. 9 out of 28 are with their original team. And yeah, it's the movement. So teams are going to just keep drafting guys because you're not going to win anything without an elite quarterback. So teams are going to just keep trying, and they're just going to, if a guy has a chance, they're just going to go higher.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing.
It makes sense. I'm just looking at the way this played out. It was a fun first round because of this. And you had looking at the surprises, you had obviously Penix at 8 was a surprise. Bo Nix getting up that high was a surprise to some people. Latu being the first defensive player off the board. And that was really all dependent on individual teams and how they viewed him medically. I thought Dallas Turner was someone when he started being there in the teens. I thought, I wonder if the Eagles are going to make a call. So when the Saints were on the board, there were reports that they were fielding phone calls before they picked Fuaga
at 14.
And that was like, I'm wondering if the Eagles are calling to try to get up and get Dallas Turner. That was my first thought.
Yeah, that would make sense. Move up from 22 to 14. It's reasonable.
Yeah. And then when Troy Fautanu went at 20, you're going, okay, Dolphins are on the board, but they go Chop Robinson, which I kind of like for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they have their 2 edge rushers are coming back from serious injuries.
Yeah.
So like that could work. I don't love Chop for value there,
21
but
might be a little high for him. And we'll see.
But I like the idea there, edge for them. But then the Eagles have their pick, and that was pretty cool to watch. And it's fun because they can't they didn't get bailed out. There wasn't one of those corners available. They had to decide, and then 2 picks later, Terrion Arnold gets taken
by the Lions.
So like these 2 guys are going to be tied together for their careers.
And because also the Eagles and Lions are 2 of the better teams in the NFC,
mm-hmm.
so the comparisons are already there.
Now the fear I have because of that is Terran Arnold's a little more battle tested.
Yeah.
Like if his career gets off to a faster start than Quinyon, I think collectively the city of Philadelphia has to remember like Quinyon Mitchell is a long-term plan.
Yeah, that's true. But when you take a guy at 22, I'm not sure how long-term you want that plan to be. And how he did allow.
You want him to be here for the next decade.
Yeah. You don't want to play him too early, I guess. And they are conservative with guys. But when you take somebody 22, he's got to play. And how he even said, and this kind of surprised me, he said he called corner a position of need.
Mm-hmm.
He never says that. He never says anything is a position of need. And they said all these nice things about James Bradbury, but to call corner a position of need kind of tells you what they're really thinking.
Yeah, I think so. And like Quinyon Mitchell, we got to talk to him on a Zoom call, and he's talking about he can't wait to learn from James Bradbury and Slay. And I'm thinking, well, you might want to get that Bradbury line in pretty quick. I don't know what's going to happen there, but I think it's fair to say that Quinyon Mitchell being drafted makes it less likely that Bradbury's in their plans.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the only reason they've held on to him is because they knew they might take a corner in the first round. I mean, there's no benefit, I guess, in cutting him other than if you want to give him a chance. I mean, the Giants held on to him, but they got to move on from him. They can't play him.
Yeah, and I don't think they will play him. It's a tricky situation, but I think the future is bright for Quinyon. I like that he said he feels like he has versatility inside and out. But then Howard Roseman actually said we want to teach him one position first, which is like, all right, that's not really his area, but it tells you that that's the organizational way they're looking.
Well, it's up to the coaches, where they play him. But he's an outside corner to start, certainly. Let's talk about that level of competition.
In the MAC?
In the MAC. And the MAC's produced some really good players, certainly.
Sure. And look, it's not the SEC. It's not the Big Ten. It's a lower level of competition. The thing with Quinyon Mitchell, though, is like we've seen enough of him that I have no doubt if they were to drop him in Alabama or LSU or wherever else, he would have been just fine.
And he went to the Senior Bowl first, and he faced all those receivers. He faced all those elite receivers, and he did exactly what he had to do. He battled them, and he won those battles, a lot of them. And he looked comfortable. He held his own. He didn't look – I don't know. He wasn't overmatched. I mean, he was facing some guys who got drafted today and will get drafted tomorrow. And I think that's when teams really kind of thought like he's okay. And then he goes to the combine, and we talked about this on the special, but I mean, he goes to the combine and crushes it.
Yeah, 195 pounds, runs a 4.33, looks super fluid. You always hear about the hips for a corner, look the part. And that's the thing. And even Howie mentioned this. He checked all the boxes along the way. If he'd missed any of those steps, you don't take him.
Right.
You don't take. He's not the best corner in the draft, but give him credit. He did all that. And I like that he stayed at Toledo.
I love that.
I think it's really cool. Ennis Rakestraw has a similar thing that he wanted to stay at Missouri, but like I like that the players at a lower level of competition says no. Like and apparently he had some great issues coming out of high school, and Toledo stood by him, and he probably lost some money in the process.
Oh yeah. He even talked about it. He said, I think he said that in his interview, right? I lost money, or I could have made more money, which 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that's
it would have been a red flag. Everybody, sirens are going off.
Yeah, now it's so I love that, and I think they like that. I think they like the fact that they were loyal to me. I want to be loyal to them. He could have transferred out. He could probably transfer it almost anywhere. I would think most SEC schools would have loved to have him. He never even went in the portal. He said he never thought about it. Mm-hmm. I give him so much credit for that. And
Jason Candle. We'll talk about him a little bit. And it is a cool connection. If you don't know this, the head coach of Toledo is Jason Candle, who was a college teammate of Nick Sirianni's at Mount Union, and then they coached together under Larry Karras. So like these two guys are like almost like they're best friends. They know each other really well. So if they needed to know anything about Quinyon Mitchell, it was a phone call away. And I think it's like, it's not just like you have an acquaintance, like Nick can trust what he says and know that he's going to shoot him straight. It's not going to be BS.
Yeah, and he was asked, I think Tim McManus asked him, what did you learn from conversations with him? And he said, we know he's a good player, but what we learned from him was his work ethic, what a good person he is, how devoted he was to the program, what a good teammate he was, what a hard worker he was. And that's what they wanted to hear. That's what they had to hear. And it's a great contact to have, and to take advantage of.
Yeah. I can't believe they got Quinyon Mitchell.
We've been talking about him. I mean, you've been high on him for 2 months now.
He's been for them to draft my draft crush is really nice of them.
Draft crush, huh?
Yeah. He was definitely my draft crush this year. And my first mock draft way back when, I had him to the Eagles at 22, but he was at the Senior Bowl then, and I went, there's no way. I liked him, and I was like, I'm going to do this now, because in a couple months I'll do this. I'm going to look like an idiot.
Yeah.
So I got it out of the way, and then that's a good lesson to me. Stop trying and just do what you think first.
Yeah. We've talked about how he's the first corner, how he's ever drafted in the first round, and the first the Eagles have drafted since. There haven't been many. Lito, I think before Lito, Ben Smith in 1990 out of Georgia. 1980, Roynell Young, who was a Pro Bowler and a starter on the Super Bowl team as a rookie, drafted out of Alcorn State.
Who's the last Toledo player they drafted?
That'll be Clarence Love. Clarence Love, cornerback or safety. He wasn't very good at either. He was a 5th-round pick. I don't remember when. It's all a blur. You covered this many drafts, but yeah, look, it's. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger, Mac, right? I mean, there's been some good players. So I can't wait to see him out there at camp. I mean, he's got, he's going to come in and compete against AJ Brown and Devontae Smith day one. So there's no hiding. And
yeah, that's for sure.
And I can't wait to watch him.
Yeah, I thought another thing that I really liked what Howie said about the Senior Bowl in particular, and I love the Senior Bowl. I think it's such an integral part of the pre-draft process. Jim Nagy does a tremendous job, and really it helped last year. 2 of their main picks, it helped them identify Tyler Steen and Sidney Brown based on seeing them do different things at the Senior Bowl, and that's kind of what they saw in Quinyon Mitchell. He played so much off coverage in college. They got a chance to see him press and get in a receiver space a little bit. I think those levels of evaluation are really important, because it's not like Vic Fangio is all of a sudden going to say, we're a press man team. It is going to be a lot of off coverage, but to know that that's in his toolbox is pretty important.
Yeah, and that's really what the Senior Bowl is about, is seeing guys do things that they maybe don't have on film. I mean, that's a big part of it, at least. And
Clarence Love,
yeah,
4th rounder in 98 out of Toledo. Played 1 year with the Eagles, played in 6 games, ended up with Baltimore for a game. And in Oakland, he played 24 games over 2 seasons in 2002 and 2003.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So he was coming on.
Yeah.
So it's been 26 years since they drafted a guy. 1988, that draft actually is the only draft in Eagles history, that 98 draft, where they took 4 Pro Bowl players.
And Clarence Love was not one?
He was not one of them. I guess it would have been Trey, Trott, Ike Reese. You have it in front of you? Oh, and Alan Rossum.
Okay.
Who was a Pro Bowl returner.
You know what's funny? If I was looking at this list, I still don't think I would have gotten Alan Rossum.
He was a Pro Bowl. He was a good returner.
He was.
His daughter's one of the top sprinters in the country. She might be at the Penn Relays. Interestingly.
Is it?
Made a Pro Bowl in 2004 for the Falcons. He averaged 12.4 yards per punt return. Alan Rossum. Ray Rose used to call him Alan Rossiter. He never learned his name. Alan Rossiter. So, yeah.
You good here?
Yeah.
So Quinyon Mitchell was in Detroit for the draft. I'm sure you saw him when he gets the call. He had a chance to talk to John Clark the day before. Clarkie out there, of course, getting a scoop. And that's where we found out he had a visit to Philly and what they talked about. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get him in here and meet him. We talked to him on a Zoom, and it's he just got drafted.
Yeah.
He's in Detroit. He wants to go like hang out with his family, and he's got our faces staring at a screen.
Yeah.
He
looks up and
tough.
there's well, I'm not going to mention.
I was wondering who you were going to mention
but,
there.
He didn't look walking up. He didn't look particularly thrilled. I think he expected to go. I mean, he said, "I'm happy to go to a franchise like the Eagles," but I think he thought he was going to go significantly higher.
Sure,
which means more money. So, I think it was.
Yeah, but also like the whole thing could just be like a blur.
That it could be.
Yeah,
but you see some of these guys just so emotional and jumping up and down and
I was worried about the commissioner. Apparently just had back surgery and all these guys are hugging him. And
oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're worried about him.
I hope he's all right.
Yeah. My buddy Raj.
You guys are close.
Yeah.
Anything else on Quinyon?
I don't think so. The way the board fell, he's the top corner, and then you have Taron Arnold a couple picks later. Nate Wiggins goes, but Cooper DeJean did not get drafted in the first round. Kool-Aid McKinstry did not get drafted. And it just tells you the level of player the Eagles got because, we talk about Cooper DeJean as like the most likely player if they stayed at 22 that they would pick. So I think it just illustrates the level of player, like the upgrade that they got over expected value in that spot.
Yeah. I'm just thinking Lito was not the first corner taken in 2002. What if Ben Smith ended up playing safety, but was drafted as a corner. I wonder if he was the first guy. I'm just wondering the last time
the Eagles had the first corner of the draft.
First corner. I'm going to look that. I'm going to work on that tonight.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. That's all I have on that. Let's take a break. We have plenty on the other side, including a big extension for AJ Brown.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store at nissanusa.com today.
Celebrity cook Steve Martorano brings his Italian-American cooking back home to Philly. Enjoy Martorano's Prime at Rivers Casino and Steve's famous meatballs with Sunday gravy, prime steaks, and more. Make reservations at Martorano's Prime on Open Table. All right, Rube, before the draft even began, about an hour before the draft began, I was like settling in at that media house to watch the Sixers game. Nope, forget that. AJ Brown, 3-year extension. He's now signed through 2029.
And Devontae signed through 2028.
AJ is the first player on the team that signed through 29.
Yeah, he is. And the list of guys signed through 2028 is getting longer. So at least 2028. The offensive guys signed through 26. And he was already signed through 26, so that didn't get any longer. But it's a really strong move. Devontae was tied with him for 10 days at $25 million average. He's now the highest paid. How about Amon-Ra St. Brown is the highest paid receiver in the NFL in NFL history for one day? That's the way it is, and I'm sure somebody.
And look, the way the way this gets based on is like the money in the extension, which won't even kick in.
Right.
I mean, until 2027.
Yeah.
So like by then there'll be a million deals.
Right.
So it's like he is because the agent gets to say he is, but like not in actuality.
True. But it's a heck of a commitment. He's an incredible player. I mean, they both are. It's amazing. I was looking this up. There's only 2 players in Eagles history who've had 2 seasons with 80 catches, 1,000 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Devontae and AJ. Like, I mean, this franchise has been so receiver challenged for so long. I mean, 4 years ago, their leading receivers were Travis Fulgham, Greg Ward, and Jalen Reagor. And then Deontay Burnett off the bench. And here we are with 2 guys, just among the highest paid receivers and among the best receivers. How we didn't have to do this, but I guess we can stop with the rumors of Eagles are trying to trade AJ Brown. Like every day, AJ Brown's trending on my social media, and I click on it, like, what's going on? It's like, oh, I think the Eagles are trading AJ Brown because he changed something in his freaking Instagram bio or something. Like, get a life, people. They're not trading. We're never trading AJ Brown, for crying out loud. Why would you do that? He's really good. But
sometimes teams trade good players.
Yeah, but
they weren't trying to trade AJ.
They were never going to trade AJ Brown. And look, I mean, Jalen Hurts he'll be what, 29 when these guys' current contracts are up. They'll probably get more, but it's just so big for him to have these two guys playing alongside him for the bulk of his career. That's huge.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And this is just, I bet you Howie would tell you all these extensions are what he's most proud of this offseason.
Could very well
made
be.
some big splashes, signed Bryce Huff to a big deal, got Saquon Barkley. That was like the biggest splash of free agency.
CJ coming back.
CJ was a big deal, but like
Mulata. I mean, let's go through them.
Yeah, Mulata,
Dickerson,
Jake Elliott,
Devontae, AJ, Jake Elliott, Rick Lovato, Braden Mann, underrated.
Well, they were free agents. They had to do that.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah,
Reed Blankenship
got another year. You would differentiate between, but it was important to keep them.
Yeah. Well, it's different. My point is that like these extensions did not need to happen now.
Right.
And like that's the theme here is that he's getting ahead of this. And we talked about it enough, I think, when Devontae got his. So we don't need to break all that down again, but it's about getting ahead of it. And there is some projection. Like we don't know what AJ Brown's going to be in 4 years. Like
he'll be underpaid if he's still
if he's still as good. Like you don't know.
No,
there's some risk involved there, but I think the projection of who that player is and who they're going to be is still worth it. Like you're going to have some hiccups here and there when you're doing this, but as long as you trust your evaluation and you know these guys, you see them every day, you have an understanding that like they know AJ Brown's going to take care of himself, right? So it's better to do that than to sign free agent whoever off the street and you don't know them as well.
And what do they have in common? Mulata, Dickerson, Devontae, AJ, all in offense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this offense is set up. I have a story on that. It's going to go someday. But yeah, I mean, they're just the whole offense is signed through, through pretty much through 26, other than a couple guys.
Yeah, it's amazing. And we think they have great potential.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to play on the field, like you got to see it, but yeah, there's no reason to think this offense won't be elite this year and then like really elite going forward for the next few years.
I don't know if this came back up. Okay. No, you're right. And I mean, I think Goddard signed through next year, through 25. And the third receiver. We don't know. Yeah, we don't know who that'll be. Might be someone they draft tomorrow.
Could be. I have some names.
What do you got?
Brewing in my head. Are we done with AJ?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
That sounds so abrupt. I mean, I think we're done speaking about him. That's just something else.
I don't think he'd take offense to that.
I think he's really good. I'm just like, he's such a physical player. He's just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, he's one of those players where, like, I think for years, Eagles fans would watch the NFL and be like, why in the world can't we get a guy like that? Yeah. You got a guy like that now, and you got him for a long time. It's really fun. Yeah. You have a player who's like, already like statistically one of the best through 5 seasons ever. And like you have this guy now for the entirety of his prime in the NFL. Like that's so exciting.
Yeah. Yep.
And Devontae too. Like you have two. You're right. It's just so exciting to see these two players after all the years of
Kenny Jackson and Alex Van Dyke.
Yeah. How annoyed is Donovan right now?
Bryce Triggs. Yeah. I mean, Donovan had T.O. for 21 games.
Yeah.
And then he had Deshaun his
at
rookie
the end,
year.
Yeah.
He had Macklin for 1 year, I think.
Yeah.
It was Donovan's last year was 09 here.
9, I think his first year.
Macklin was a rookie in 09. So yeah, he had those guys, but he was already declining by then. He had a lot of injuries. He had a good stretch in 08, but he actually made a Pro Bowl in 09. Didn't have a bad year, but yeah, for the bulk of his career, especially those, his first 5 or 6 years before TO, he had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure he's not happy.
Yeah, he's probably talking about it somewhere.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Before we look at what's left,
okay,
real quick, anything else really surprise you from the first round that's not the offense heavy stuff?
Anything you mean league wide?
Yeah, league wide.
That's a good question. I thought a couple of guys, like I thought Brock Bowers would go a little earlier. I thought Amarius Mims would go a little later. I think 18 is a little high for him. He's got a huge ceiling. Bengals took him at 18, which is where I had the Eagles taking Latham, trading up to 18.
Man, Latham went early, huh? At 7.
He went at 7 to the Titans, which kind of threw everybody's mock drafts off.
And apparently they're going to let him compete for the left tackle spot or be the left tackle.
Interesting.
So he played right in college.
Yeah. But other than
I like what the Bears did. Obviously they were going to get Caleb Williams, but Odunze with him is nice.
Yeah. Yeah, they got him 9.
The Vikings were able to just have to move up one spot to get their quarterback.
Yeah.
We thought they'd have to move up farther.
Yeah. I don't know. I think some of these quarterbacks after the first 4 guys, after the first 3 guys, I wonder.
I like Penix.
Do you?
Yeah. I don't know what the situation he's walking into there is like with Kirk Cousins.
How much do they give Cousins?
A lot.
And Penix is older, right? Isn't he like 24?
I don't know how old he is.
How old is Michael Penix?
He'll turn 24 in May.
So,
but I mean, quarterbacks can play so long.
Yeah, he'll be 26 when Cousins' deal is up.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a tricky thing.
Yeah, that's a tough dynamic. So we'll see there. But other than that, I don't think anything really.
Receivers at the end of the round there.
Yeah, a little run of receivers.
Yeah,
Worthy.
Xavier Worthy with the Chiefs is fun.
Yeah, they needed to do something. Get some. I mean, you talk about Donovan with Torrance Small and Charles Johnson and all those guys. What Patrick Mahomes has done with without elite receivers is incredible.
I mean, he has an elite receiver. It's a tight end.
Yeah, that's true. And Rashee Rice was really coming on the end of the year. I mean, he was really doing some nice things. Ricky Pearsall went to the
I
Niners.
love Ricky. He was going to be one of my second round targets.
Yeah.
I like him a lot. It makes me curious what San Francisco is going to do now with Debo and Ayuk.
It's a good question.
Yeah. And Xavier Legette, we talked about a little bit as a potential second round option.
Yeah, so 3 of the last 5 picks were receivers. So that's a little run there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fun day.
I like Darius Robinson to the Cardinals. I like Darius Robinson. I think he's a useful player. Very versatile.
Yeah.
That's all. Okay. We can look at what's left. Anyone on your mind for 50 or 53? I have a bunch of guys in front of me, so I don't want to put you on the spot like that. I
think Peyton Wilson's a really intriguing guy for me.
Yeah.
There's obviously some red flags. North Carolina State linebacker, injuries, age, but man, he is such a talent. He's just such a playmaker.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me.
Yeah,
because of the injuries. But I understand it. Like the player alone is great, and if the medical checks out, then fine.
Yeah.
But no linebackers in the first round. And there's a chance the Eagles could get the best linebacker in this draft at 50. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
I'll bet a linebacker goes, but it's possible, certainly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe not the first. I'm not saying the first, but chance to get the best, the one they think is the best.
Yeah.
I think opinions are really split on these guys.
Yeah, that's true. Who are you thinking? Who do you think
linebacker?
No, just in general, 50-53.
Oh, well, Junior Colson's the linebacker. I would.
Michigan?
Yeah. I think that would be the best pick at linebacker. I think he's the best linebacker in this class. Some tackles still around. I don't know how long they'll last. They might not last until 50-53, so you might need to trade up to get a Kingsley Suamataia or a Roger Rosengarten from Washington. Those are kind of the top tackles there.
What about the interior guy from Oregon? He's still out there, right?
Powers
Johnson.
Yeah. I'd imagine he's not going to be in their range. Tricky one because he's, probably a center, but he big enough to play guard.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to be comfortable with him playing guard, but it's interesting. I think he's a good player.
Blake Fisher, too, from Notre Dame, tackle out there. If I don't mention Cooper Beebe, Barrett will bust through here and be mad at me. Kansas State guy. Some receivers out there.
A.D. Mitchell.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to even include him. I think he'll be long gone. But
Keon Coleman, he'll probably be gone too.
Probably. But like a Jalen Polk. I like a Jalen Polk.
And Howie's also allowed to trade up in the second round.
He is. Without a third round pick, that might be tough.
Yeah.
And they only have one in the fourth. It's 120 overall. So, but they could theoretically, and you can trade future picks. So if there's someone there that they really like, they can go up and get him.
Any interest in Ladd McConkey?
Yeah, I like a Ladd McConkey. Again, I don't know if he'll be there.
Yeah,
but
I mean, all these receivers aren't going to go. Maybe they will.
They might. Roman Wilson from Michigan, if you want to slot.
Any of these edges interest you?
Yes, Disa Isaac from Penn State.
Penn State kid.
Mm-hmm. I like him a lot.
Yeah, we were just talking about him.
Yeah, he would be my edge in the second round. There's some safeties out there if they want to go that way. Oh, Mike Hall Jr., defensive tackle from Ohio State.
You got so excited.
I almost forgot him. Mike Hall Jr. is I think he'd be I know defensive tackle is not a big need. But
Johnny Newton's out there, Illinois. He'll probably be gone.
I would think so.
Jerzan. How about the Alabama edge rusher Braswell?
Yeah,
he's still out there.
Yeah, and he might go in that range.
Yeah.
I think that's a decent option. I think I'd probably lean Adisa Isaac if I had my choice of the two.
Yeah,
but there are definitely going to be some options.
Yeah, they're going to get a couple good players if they do hold on to those picks.
I think so. It's not particularly early in the second round. These are pretty deep picks.
Yeah, well, middle of the round.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun day too. And I just wrote a piece on the second round and how well the Eagles have drafted. And in a way, you're like, they've done so well in the second round. Like, you just think about the players they've taken in the second round. I mean,
we talked about this on our walk back to the media house. Wouldn't rule out a corner.
No, I wouldn't either.
Especially there's some nickel, maybe not nickel only, but nickel first options.
I know your guy's still out there.
Who's my guy?
Max Melton.
Like a Max Melton, yeah.
Cedar Creek High School.
Mm-hmm.
What's their nickname? I don't know Cedar Creek's nickname.
Pirates?
I'm going to look it up.
That's not right. I don't think that's right.
Pirates.
Is it Pirates?
The Pirate. The Pirate is like the Stanford Cardinal?
Man, where did I pull that from? That is knowledge. It's so deep in your brain that you're like, I guess it has to be right, because why else would I say that? But
ARG.
Oh, one other thing about the AJ Brown deal.
Yeah.
That's sticking it to Jerry Jones a little bit.
A little bit.
Reset the market before. He's been dragging his feet this whole time to pay CeeDee Lamb. And guess what?
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Price just got raised a little bit, buddy.
Did.
Yep. They've been so busy with all their other off-season dealings that they haven't had time to pay CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
I'm excited for day 2.
Yeah.
I love all 3 days of the draft. I know some interest drops off.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's really fun to see who they end up with in the third round. You never know. You could be dealing with the next Jason Kelce.
In the 6th round. I mean, yeah. Draft a Hall of Famer. I tried to find articles that were written about Kelce when he was drafted. I couldn't find anything. Nobody wrote about him.
Yeah.
But listen.
Well, it's funny. I see some people looking back at his like his draft blurbs, like his scouting reports, and they like laugh at them. But at the time, he was undersized. There were questions if he could play in the league. It's like we look at it now through the lens of knowing Jason Kelce and that body type can play that position. At the time, we didn't really have that knowledge.
Yeah. And as he, we learned, how he did a great interview with Howie about his draft, about him getting drafted on his podcast. Did you know the Kelce's do a podcast?
There's two of them?
Yeah, there's his brother plays for the Chiefs.
Oh.
Yeah, so they did.
Is he dating anyone?
I wouldn't know. I don't know about his dating life, but he said he had a really bad reputation at Cincinnati. He's like, I always got into fights, and Howie's like, yeah, that really hurt you in the draft. He just had a reputation as being a hothead.
And that turned out to be right.
Yeah.
That's the trash can in the bubble.
Yeah, but that was the extent of it. That was a fun day.
It was a fun day.
There was video of that. I'm going viral.
There probably is video of it.
Yeah, but we probably don't have it. It's probably just in some Eagles archive somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun day. Fun day one.
Fun day one. I still can't believe Quinyon Mitchell's an Eagle.
What a thing. Does he start our opening day? Yes or no?
Yes.
Has to be.
I don't think he has to be.
I do.
Okay.
Because if not him, then who?
Keely?
I like Keely, but no.
What are the chances in 5 years the starting cornerbacks for the Eagles are Quinyon Mitchell and Keely Ringo?
In 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
I think they're somewhat fair. That's a long time away. A lot of things can happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much I really liked a lot of what I saw from Keely, but I'm not convinced he's.
Yeah, I still people are going to say he's a 4th round pick, but he was a 3rd round pick.
He was essentially a 3rd round pick. But we don't know yet. I thought he did some impressive things, but he's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. The idea of having 2 prototypical height, weight, speed corners on the outside. I like that.
And homegrown young guys who can run. When's the last time they started 2 corners that they drafted? Lito and Sheldon, probably.
It was probably a Jalen Rasul.
Maybe. Jalen might have been a safety at that point.
Remember when they just paid Jalen to be a safety for a year?
Yeah.
That was weird.
Yeah. Malcolm
left, and I guess we'll make Jalen Mills a safety.
He's slow. He can play safety. He's physical.
All right, you want to wrap this up?
Why don't we do that? Let's do this again.
Let's realize it's 1:20 in the morning, so we should probably wrap this up. We're going to have a podcast after every day of the draft. We hope you appreciate that. If you do, you know how you tell us that? You rate, you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube,
was I supposed to say
you click that like button, you subscribe there as well. We appreciate all the kind words and the 5-star ratings. For Rube.
Oh, Sixers, big win. We didn't get to watch it because we were so busy, but kind of had it on in the background on my laptop and beat at 50. Just want to throw that out there in this very building.
Yep.
You can finish now.
I don't know if people knew that. All right. For Rube, I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.